Well, thank you for staying with us. The United States President Donald Trump has announced plans to withdraw the United States from 66 United Nations and international organizations, including key global platforms focused on climate change, peace and democracy. Now, in a presidential memorandum released by the White House on Wednesday evening, President Trump said the decision followed a review of organizations and treaties deemed contrary to the interests of the United States. But what does this mean for Kenya and Africa at large? Our reporter Bramwell Bwire is on the ground in Kisumu, speaking to governance expert Davis Okombo. Bramwell, what are the implications of this move?
Indeed, this announcement by US President Donald Trump has sparked debate across the globe, particularly among those countries that are still developing. And these are countries who have heavily relied on multilateral cooperation to ensure that the operations are running. But with me here, I'm being joined by Davis Okombo, a governance expert here in Kisumu. Davis, thank you for speaking to us. This move by US government and President Donald Trump to withdraw from this international organization, what does it mean? What is the implication?
The decision by the United States to withdraw from 66 treaties and international organizations is first and foremost regrettable, and it undermines international cooperation. Nations since time immemorial have related through treaties and conventions, and there are clear guidelines on how nations can relate either bilaterally or multilaterally, and this is guided by the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, and therefore a nation cannot just decide unilaterally to withdraw from a treaty without giving due notice and consideration to all the other members of this treaty and convention.
Of course, when you're talking about multilateral and bilateral cooperation, there's something that must always be focused on, and that is funding. A quick breakdown on how this funding and cut down of the funding is going to directly affect Kenya.
The analysis of this executive order shows that a number of international agencies like the World Health Organization and the United Nations Population Fund and so on will significantly reduce their funding, and this poses a grave risk to a number of development issues, not only in Kenya, but the rest of Africa. For instance, the WHO has significantly been on the forefront to address issues like vaccinations, the pandemics like corona virus, and so on. The Population Fund has been really active in reproductive health, maternal health care, and so on. And all these are going to be undermined, and all those gains that we have made in healthcare, in climate change mitigation, and so on, are going to be rolled down, and we are yet to see the worst effect on development cooperation.
Looking beyond Kenya, does this mean that Africa has any voice on the global stage?
I would like to say that the United Nations has been the global body that has provided a platform for international cooperation. And the recent events, for instance, the invasion of Venezuela and the subsequent detention of its president and so on, clearly shows that the powerful countries are moving away from multilateral cooperation into more unilateral cooperation, in which they take decisions based on their own national interest, and they further put a lot of pressures for those countries that do not conform to what they stand for, and therefore Africa will significantly lose its voice in the international arena.
Thank you, Davis, for those insights. That is Davis Okombo, a governance expert from here in Kisumu, and he is categorical that Kenya is being presented now, it is being presented another opportunity to reassess its political and diplomatic strategies, to assess its diplomatic policies, to ensure that when this eventually starts cascading its effects down to the country will not fall back into economic turmoil, will not have to witness a lot of redundancy in working places, just to ensure that the country can stand on its feet. From here in Kisumu, back to you in the studios.
Thank you very much.